For years, it's been the big question for PC gamers, right? Can I finally ditch Windows and actually game on Linux? Well, with all the crazy advancements we've been seeing, 2025 might just be the year that question gets a solid yes. So let's just dive right in and see what's what. So yeah, is it finally time? For the longest time, the answer was always, yeah, but. It came with this whole long list of things you had to give up, especially when it came to performance. But you know that old story? It's really starting to fall apart. And this, right here, is the big headline. The days of taking a massive hit to your frame rate just to play a game on Linux, they're pretty much over. In a lot of cases, the performance is right on par with Windows 11, and sometimes, get this, it can actually be a little bit better. And that completely changes the game. If the FPS is basically a tie, what are we even choosing between anymore? The real decision now boils down to the stuff that affects you every single day you sit down to play, what the experience is like, how stable your system is, and just how much control you really want over the whole thing. So let's start right there with that day-to-day experience. What does it actually feel like to game on these two systems? Okay, so here's the give and take. Windows 11 definitely still has the edge in a couple of areas. It's got broader game compatibility right out of the box, it boots up a little faster, and yeah, the audio quality is often a bit better. But, and this is a big but, look at the Linux side. It is clearly absolutely superior at getting rid of that horrible microstutter. And its sleep mode, it's not even a contest, which is huge for handhelds. Plus, the whole update process is just smoother. And for a lot of us, that buttery smooth gameplay is everything. This user here nails it. Getting rid of those tiny, annoying stutters is the main reason they prefer Linux. It's that feeling, that smooth experience, that a simple FPS counter just can't show you. All right, now before we go any further into the software, we have to talk about hardware, because there is one single choice that will basically define your entire Linux gaming experience, and it all comes down to what graphics card is in your machine. So, what's the one thing you need to get? It's right here in this table. If you've got an AMD Radeon card, your life on Linux is going to be super simple. The drivers are open source, they're baked right into Linux itself, and they just work. It's the dream. Now, if you have an NVIDIA card, well, things can get a bit more complicated. Their drivers are proprietary, they live outside the core system, and they have this nasty habit of breaking when you do a system update. And this is the fear, right? You run a simple update, reboot your PC, and black screen. Nothing. Then you're stuck digging around, trying to fix your drivers. It's a huge pain point. But don't worry, like we're about to see, some versions of Linux are now built specifically to solve this exact problem for you. Speaking of which, when you hear people talk about different versions of Linux, they call them distributions or distros. And yeah, there are a ton of them, and it can feel totally overwhelming. But you can pretty much boil them all down to one of three main ideas or philosophies. So first up, who have what's called a fixed release. Think of something like CachyOS. These guys are all about being rock solid and predictable. Big updates only come out on a set schedule after they've been tested like crazy. This makes them super reliable and honestly, a fantastic place to start if you just want a system that works and doesn't surprise you. Then you have the total opposite, the rolling release, like CachyOS. This is for people who want the absolute latest and greatest stuff, the newest drivers, the newest features, the second they're available. This usually means you get the best possible performance, but historically, living on that cutting edge meant you had a higher chance of things, breaking. But, and this is the modern twist, that old fear is basically gone. Thanks to cool new tech, these distros can take automatic snapshots of your system before an update. So if something does go wrong, you just reboot, pick the last working snapshot from a menu, and boom, you're back in business in like a minute. It turns what could have been a total disaster into a tiny little hiccup. And finally, you have the immutable approach. Think of Bazzite. This is the absolute peak of reliability. The main part of the operating system is literally locked down. You can't change it. Updates are applied like a single, perfect image. This makes it almost impossible to break your system, accidentally or otherwise. It's the ultimate set-it-and-forget-it way of doing things. Okay, so with those ideas in mind, let's meet the current champions, the best of the best Linux distros that are built from the ground up for gaming. First on the list is Nobara Linux. This is the champion of it just works, especially if you have an NVIDIA card. It takes a super stable base and then preloads it with all the gaming tweaks and tools you'd ever need. And the best part? It completely automates the whole painful NVIDIA driver setup. You install it, and you're ready to game, period. Now, for those of you who want to squeeze every last frame out of your machine, there's CachyOS. This is a rolling release that is just hyper-focused on raw speed. It uses custom kernels and all sorts of advanced tweaks to push performance to its absolute limit. If you're the kind of person who lives and breathes benchmark scores, this is your jam. And this chart kind of gives you the picture. You can see that while they're all super close, a tuned distro like CachyOS can pull out a small but, a real lead over the Windows baseline. Bazzite, on the other hand, hangs right around the same performance, trading that tiny bit of peak speed for that incredible stability we talked about. Which brings us to Bazzite, the unbreakable hero. Because it's immutable, it's just incredibly consistent. Updates are always safe and reliable, which makes it absolutely perfect for handhelds like the ROG Ally or Steam Deck, or really any system where you just want it to work every single time. And yeah, it's also a beast at eliminating that micro stutter. Okay, so we've looked at the experience, the hardware, and the different types of software. So now, for the final verdict, we got to talk about the last big elephant in the room, anti-cheat. So here's the deal, technically speaking. On Linux, anti-cheat programs don't get deep kernel-level access to your whole computer like they do on Windows. They run in a much safer user mode. Think of it like a bouncer at a club who can only check IDs at the door, versus on Windows where they're like a security guard with a master key to every single room. The key thing is, Valve has already built all the tech to make this work perfectly. So the bottom line is this. If a game with anti-cheat doesn't work on Linux today, it's not because Linux can't do it. It's because the game developer hasn't bothered to flip a switch on their end to let it work. The problem isn't technical anymore. It's a business decision. Okay, let's just put it all together. This little chart should make the choice pretty clear. If you just want things to be simple and easy, especially with an NVIDIA card, go with Nobara. If you're on AMD and you demand absolute unbreakable stability, Bazzite is for you. If you're on AMD and you're chasing that top benchmark score, CachyOS the way. And hey, let's be fair, if you absolutely need Game Pass or 100% compatibility with every single anti-cheat game out there, then staying on Windows 11 is still the most practical choice. And really, that's what it all comes down to. The choice isn't about giving up a huge chunk of performance anymore. It's a choice of what you value. So you have to ask yourself, what matters more to you? The incredible freedom, control, and customization that Linux gives you, or the easy, familiar comfort of the Windows world you already know? The choice, for the first time, is really up to you.